Welcome to Pivot Talks with PC. My name is Pauline Caballero, and we're talking change. It isn't coming, it's here. Okay, hey everyone, welcome. I'm so excited to be speaking with Amanda Quinn this session here. And Amanda is one of the co-founders of Fit Chicks Academy. And I've known Amanda well for over a decade now, which is crazy. I can't even believe it. But yeah, I'm really excited to talk to her today because she's had the opportunity to pivot and not pivot and support other people in pivoting all through COVID-19 in their years. So first of all, thank you so much for joining me today, Amanda.
It's always an honor to talk with you. You know that. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, maybe before we get started, I know this sounds like such a cliche thing to say, but can you tell us a little bit about yourself and just like what you're up to and anything that the listeners should really know about what you're looking to create here in the world?
For sure. I mean, well, first of all, I think the most important thing to know is I'm a mom. So I definitely, from a pivoting standpoint, I've had to pivot a lot in life. I'm also the CEO and co-founder of Fit Chicks Academy. We've been running our business since September of 2008. So we actually launched our business when it was the start of the recession. So I understand all about building in a difficult time frame and building in a place where you just feel like, there's no opportunity. So, but when we started our business, we started it with the intention of always creating something more than just fitness classes. We started with fitness classes and then we wanted to develop it into something so much bigger than itself. We wanted it to be something that would encourage women, help them be inspired about their health, their wellness, about their life, and to do it in a way that was positive and focusing on helping them see what was possible and not focusing on the insecurities that our industry kind of focuses on. I think important things to really know about me and my intentions and what I'm trying to do in this world is really just, again, helping women to be able to see what's possible for themselves. I went through a lot in my life in terms of dealing with PTSD, major anxiety issues, a lot of really difficult times of loss and, dealing with a lot of forgiveness and things like that in my life. So it's been something that I also encompass into our program. So we teach not only about fitness and about nutrition, but we talk so much about mindset. And I consistently do work on my own mindset, on my own self-care practices, meditation practices, everything, so that I can be the best person I can to help my students.
Oh my God, I love that. On a side note, you have to come over one day and try my meditation bed. I'll talk more about my tune bed later at another session, but you must.
So funny. After the last time you and I spoke, I actually Googled the tune bed and I was like, oh my gosh, I need one of these because you had told me about it. And I was like, what is this? I need to know. So cool. I'm definitely going to come over.
Yeah, it's a life changer. We'll talk about that for sure. Yeah. But, one of the things, because that's where you and I have the very similar passion is around mindset. Maybe before we even get started in talking about what you've been up to at work is, what are some of your favorite tools for mindset or even favorite books that you love?
Yeah. So right now, I don't actually seem to have a lot of time to read all the time because I'm always reading stuff. I'm always in meetings. So what my favorite thing to do for mindset every single day is get outside in nature. So go for walks, just to be in air, just in a different space. Sometimes I do it in complete silence, just so that I have time to actually think, because I think that we don't spend enough time in our thoughts. We spend a lot of time just in busyness and movement, but we don't really spend a lot of time in just giving ourselves space to allow the thoughts to come in. I do that. I listen to a lot of podcasts. Podcasts are probably my favorite way right now, or audiobooks, but podcasts are my thing. They're totally my jam. They're the thing that I love to listen to. Mostly I've got 4 favorites that I'm kind of really into, which is Tony Robbins, just because it's Tony Robbins and he's got some really great interviews and they're so powerful. I listen to some marketing ones, so Russell Brunson, and then I also like Brendan Burchard's. But then my newest obsession right now is actually a podcast called Rise Up, Live Free. And it actually comes from Ryan Lee and Brad Gibb. And there's a third person on there. He's not on it as much, and I can't remember his name. Forgive me, but they talk specifically, they actually have a company that teaches about cash flow tactics and stuff, but they talk about it money mindset, and they talk about it from a perspective of like how to actually see your money, see your wealth and everything, but in a positive way, and they reframe the way that you look at things. And I just really love what they're talking about, because I think it's an area that a lot of people are afraid of, and so they're really out there just like sharing it. And it's not just like get rich tactics, it's really about like mindset pieces. So those are like my main things, but of course movement is included on a day-to-day basis.
Mhm.
um Exercise has always been my like go to in terms of releasing anxiety, resetting and reframing my day, and then meditation practices on a
I love
regular
it.
basis. Yeah,
Yeah, I love that. I'm definitely gonna have to check out that podcast, and we'll add that into the show notes for sure for anyone who's listening.
it's so good.
Oh, it's amazing. Well, it's interesting because, I mean, I really see you as someone who's always been ahead of the curve. And for those of you that have been following the podcast, you know that I co-founded a series of yoga studios. And I'll never forget, Amanda, you were one of the first, I think the first individual that was like, Pauline, you really have to get online. And I remember saying that to my co-founder, and we were joking about it today, actually. I was just talking to Kim today about it and saying, hey, remember when I told you we need to get online and you were a hard no? And it only took a pandemic for us to really double down on online. But that's a domain in which you've been playing with for a long time already.
Yeah, so it's funny that you say that though, because I remember it's about 9 years ago, before we even had an online academy, we were just teaching our fitness classes. And my business partner, Laura Jackson, who's our other co-founder, she said to me, I really think we should have an online training program. And I was like, who's going to pay for that? No way. And I literally was like totally against it. And I'm like, let's just stay the course. What we're doing is working, and let's keep growing this. And it's funny because now, of course, it's such a big thing. But you know, I guess it was also because I felt like the idea of what she wanted to create of like an online fitness training program was not something that spoke to me. But then when we moved into our academy, it's been about almost 6 years now, we developed our online certifications. And we did that. It's funny, when we actually first started our certifications for FitChicks Academy, we actually first sold it as in person.
Mm.
And we had actually sold a bunch of spots, and we canceled it. Like, so we had about like 20 people signed up in Toronto in Canada, and we were like, actually, we don't want to do that at all. We want to take this online. And so we canceled on all of them, gave them the opportunity to move online with us. Some of them said yes, some didn't. And because we realized in that very moment, we were like, wait a second, by doing it in person, we're now limiting ourselves to people within our parameters. We're now putting ourselves in a position that we're going to have to physically go to this place to teach. And we don't want to do that anymore. We wanted to be able to create our business to match our lifestyle that we desired. So that's what we did.
I love it. And
Yeah.
it's a really powerful message because more and more, I think there's that opportunity where, you don't necessarily have to have such a huge ecological footprint. You don't actually have to travel and go somewhere. Of course, many of us are itching to get away and to travel and to be in retreat for sure. But I think, as a standard go-to, it means quite inspiring to create your work where you are.
Mm-hmm. It is. And it's really important to remember, too, like even from a business standpoint, that in today's society, the number one reason why people make a purchase decision is based on convenience. So people buy on convenience. If you think about what's the most common reason that people say they can't complete something, it's because they're too busy. So if they're too busy to achieve those goals, if you're not giving them a solution, then you're not being on their radar.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great point that you're bringing forward here, Amanda, is like you need to solve someone's problem.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the problem is that people don't have time to travel, or, for us, for example, because it was fitness classes, and same with you for online yoga, it was like you now have no more borders that are limiting you to the people in your community, and you have the ability to be able to just, work when you choose to work and create when you choose to create. And that was just something that was really like, it was really exciting to us and really important to us. And 10 years after running our in-person fitness classes, we shut them all down. Even though we had a bunch of locations, we actually shut them all down. It was about 2 years ago, because we figured a decade is like a great time to like end. It's like we're ending on a high note. It's not in a negative space. And we just felt like it wasn't serving us anymore. And this is where we needed to put our energy. And since then it's grown so much, which is so cool.
So what happened when you doubled down in online and shut down in person?
As soon as we did that, we actually hired a full-time employee to come on board to help us, to support us. We were able to just put more focus into it, right? We were able to look at it was no longer trying to basically have two companies at the same time, it was all of our energy and focus became on our students, on
Mhm.
their achievements, on their growth, on their success, as opposed to it being half of it there and half of it on our fitness classes, on our trainers and everything else. So it allowed for us to put so much focus that when you focus on something, it can't help but grow. And so we were actually able to increase our revenue year after year, um, quite substantially the first year as soon as we started focusing on it. And then this past year, actually, during this pandemic, to be very honest with you, we have actually doubled our revenue in this year.
Wow.
And in one of the toughest years, and I understand, for everyone listening, like this is a really challenging year for a lot of people. We've just been fortunate enough that we have a vehicle that makes sense for a lot of people, and we're
Mhm.
giving them the opportunity to see what's possible for them by creating what we've created.
So that's amazing. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's beautiful to see. And so what would you say? So you said that you created a vehicle that people want that are,
Mhm.
and what is exactly that vehicle?
Well, it's a different way of looking at certifications, right? So we created a different niche in this because most other certifications out there were just so limited. Like it was like you get certified as a personal trainer to go work in a gym. And
Mhm.
that was, I've never stepped foot in a gym. Like I've worked out in a gym, but I've never taught in a gym. I've never taught in a studio. I've always just taught independently. And so we thought, if we wanted that, there's so many people that want that too. But there was no certifications that really had that sort of piece to it, but also had a business side to it. So there's a
Mm.
lot of trainers, and I'm sure in your industry too, there's so many like yoga instructors, teachers, instructors, fitness instructors, health coaches that have these great certifications and this great desire to make impact, but they have no idea on the business side. And so what we did was we created our certification to be focused on a holistic manner of fitness and nutrition. And then all of our bonus materials that are included are all business resource materials. So they're setting our students up for success, showing them how to build a business from registering your business name all the way to creating your business plan. So step by step.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's so neat. And
Yeah.
so really applicable for other industries as well. Do you plan on diversifying that?
No, I don't think so. I think we're going to really stick to it. Like I think there's so much there's so much work from home and like online business strategy stuff that's out there right now, but ours is so unique and specific to we are going to show you how to teach fitness from anywhere, online or in person. And one of the things actually that we did during COVID, so of course I mentioned this earlier, was that when we were offline, I talked to you about this. Like when COVID first began, we saw a lot of the people, a lot of our graduates of our program, because we have like an online community that they're a part of for life, right? So we consider them to be lifetime members. And our graduates were all kind of scrambling and freaking out a little bit, being like, well, how am I going to support my clients? And so we saw such a huge need that we actually developed and taught live a 6 day, like we called it like a boot camp kind of thing. And it was literally just like 6 days of how to take your business online. So everything from the tech side of what you would need to like social media to marketing to everything. And we actually gave it to all of our students and all of our graduates. And we said, like, here, we're going to gift this to you guys to help you be able to get those answers as quick as possible.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, and that really, fits with your mission of being up to something bigger than yourself.
Yeah. It was something that was important to us. We thought that, there is a need, there is a desire, and we have the tools and we want to help people as much as possible. Like if you're in business, you have to want to serve people. You know, you can't just be about the finances.
I love that. So tell me something like because what I'm hearing from all the stuff you're sharing here, I was just writing a
Yeah.
whole bunch of stuff down, like work at your choice, really being laser focused. What you focused on grows, and you saw that specifically with your business when you guys doubled down on the online platform, and then really being with intentional with serving others.
Yeah.
And that sounds to me like that's really been your success formula for winning
Yeah.
at your game.
Yeah, I think it's being selfless. It's about really recognizing that what you're doing has a bigger purpose than yourself. That you are just like you're a part of someone's journey and you should be honored to be a part of that. And we are, and we treat all of our students like people. And that's a really important thing for me. Like I know a lot of our students personally. in our academy, and we have thousands of students, but I know a lot of them and I know their stories. I actually talk to them. Some of them text me. Like, it literally is like this community that we've built that we have such a clear connection with, that we are there and they know that we have their backs. And that's a really important thing, because I think in this world today, there's so much that's missing from that. Like, it's so like, especially with online and everything else, there's so many like, it's like we kind of become robots and there's not a lot of emotion around it. So we want to keep that emotion tied to it and keep it so it's really connected. And I think that's really important to me.
And how have you been able to, like, I mean, you just shared a couple of ways in which you've been able to, but it's interesting because I hear a lot of feedback. Oh, going online, it's so impersonal and I have Zoom fatigue. But how do you keep those, connections, and how do you keep everyone engaged? Were you able to support, like, how were you able to support your team, and team being your fitness instructors?
Yeah, well, I mean, our students really, it's up to them to decide what that looks like, right? So we give them all the tools. We say, hey, we're going to do live coaching sessions with you guys. Here's a question form. You can fill out questions in advance. We'll respond to them. You can connect with our community here. If you have questions, you can email them to us. You can also set up one-on-one calls. If you finish your business plan, you can set up a one-on-one session with me and I'll review it. So it's really like handing them all the tools and allowing them to decide and putting the ball in their court. So there's no like forced upon them. It's their decision. So some of them are really engaged and continue to engage. And then there's some that don't. And that's their choice. And they always know that we're there for them if they want that support. But some of them maybe don't need it. Some of them don't really maybe recognize the importance of it. That's totally on their call. But that's kind of how we do it so that we can manage, because of course I can't be reaching out to 10, like 10,000 people being like, hey, how are you doing with your classes today? But we give them all the tools to be able to support them. And if they reach out, then we're there for them. And we also, of course, have a team of amazing coaches that support, like we have our assistant coaches, and then we have our programs manager, and then myself and Laura managing the entire business.
I love that. And do you guys have like a preferred platform that you like to use as an organization or even for yourself?
I mean, of course, we always use Zoom because it's like the most simple way to communicate. We communicate a lot in our Facebook communities. And my personal preference, though, my favorite tool to use is Voxer. So I'm not sure if you use Voxer at all, Pauline, but
No, I don't use Boxer at all.
Oh my gosh, Voxer is like my favorite because it's an app on your phone. It's like a walkie-talkie app.
Okay.
So you can actually communicate with anybody. So I could Vox you, and I could do it like either written or verbal, but it doesn't actually give out your phone number. So it's just like, it's basically like a messaging center, but it's not actually giving out your private information. So it's a really great tool if you want to communicate with, say, if you have clients and you really want to be able to give that one-on-one access to you, but you don't necessarily want to give them your personal information. You just give them a Vox, and then that way there, it keeps it really private. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so cool. I learned something new today.
It's such a good, it's literally one of my favorite pieces of, and it's free for most people unless you do the pro, and then it's still cheap, but it's great.
All right. Yeah. Well, you're going to get a Vox from me later tonight.
It's so cool. You'll love it. Honestly, it's my favorite way to communicate. We do group chats and like all this stuff with our team. It's amazing.
Oh, that's so smart. And then you don't have to do like a WhatsApp group where you're giving out personal phone numbers.
Exactly. And then you also don't have to have 1,000 emails coming in, right? Because you can just quickly Vox someone.
I just cleaned out my email. So I'm doing like a calendar audit. So I'm reviewing my year, and I just did a calendar audit, and I just deleted all 10,000 emails. So if anyone emailed me, and it's gone, it's just gone. I'm starting 2020 clean, completely.
Wow. I cannot say that I'm there. I actually looked at my inbox and I was like, it always sits around 300 no matter what I do. It's like, I try to get it out. I ended up like archiving about like 600 emails because I was like, okay, there's definitely like, when I get to like email 900, like guaranteed I don't have to respond to that anymore because it was a long time ago. So I'm like, I'll just archive that and deal with it. Deal with the ones that are current. But
300 is a good number though. I like it.
It's a lot.
Well, Amanda, what is one thing that you want to say that you want to take with you from 2020 as a lesson, and what's one thing that you're now willing to like do without as we move into this new year?
So interesting. So I just talked about this with Laura the other day. We just had this huge conversation about sort of, what we learned from this past year. And I know that this past year has been, like we said, like really, really hard for a lot of people for different reasons. There's been a lot of challenges. And I'm not saying that there hasn't been challenges for me either. Like I was telling you offline, like my father is critically ill. He became extremely sick this year. My mom's health isn't good either. Like I'm dealing with a lot of like personal matters.
Mhm.
But the one lesson I think that really stuck with me the most is the fact that things can be hard and it's going to be okay.
Mm.
And that's like the message that kind of sticks with me, because it's like recognizing that even though things are hard, if you look back in your life and you think like, man, like this moment right now is really hard. If you look back, there are other moments that were maybe harder or worse or similar, but you always made it through and you always came out the other side. And so it's like reminding yourself, like in the moment, it might really suck. It might be really challenging, but you have tools to be able to help you get through that and use those tools. So whether it's your networks, whether it's the people that love you, whether it's outside resources, whether it's internally, like what we were talking about earlier, like meditation practices, movement, things like that, things that are going to help achieve that goal, you've got to use them. But recognizing that you can't just push it away. Things are hard and they're going to be hard, and you just got to like process it. Don't try to remove it.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
that was my biggest lesson of this past year for sure. And I want to take that with me. I want to take that reminder with me.
Anything you want to leave here in 2020, in our last couple of hours in 2020?
I don't know, like I don't know if there's anything in particular, because I always try to find a lesson in everything that I go through, whether it's something negative or challenging, or even if it's something that's, really upsetting. It's like what I always said about music. Like I mean, it's like an analogy, but like I love music and I love all types of music, even though I may not appreciate, like, maybe jazz isn't my favorite type of music. I can always appreciate something from it. And so I feel like that's the same with like every lesson that you have in your life. You can always, even in the moments that are really hard, I can always look back and remember that there's something that was to be brought to me for a reason. So I don't know if I really want to leave anything behind.
I love that. I love that. I mean, I'll say that's something that I'm so drawn to you with is, really your I'll say it this way, your emotional intelligence. Like it's quite beautiful to see an entrepreneur who's very clear in what their core values are and very clearly has a mission. Like I really get from you the legacy that you're looking to leave behind is that you supported others. And
Thank you.
I mean, I'm really
it means a lot coming from you. As you know, I've always like had such admiration and love for you. So
ditto. Girl crush is mutual. Let me just tell you. Well, I mean, I'm really grateful, Amanda, for you taking the time today. And I for those of you listening, Amanda and I are sort of like looking at what are ways that we can collaborate within our organizations, and it's something that I'm really looking for in 2021 is how can I work more with people that I just really admire and be more in cooperation and collaboration, distinct from competition. And we've never felt that with each other anyways. We're in such different domains, but I think that's one of the things that I'm really looking to bring forth in 2021. So for those of you listening and, make sure, I mean, Amanda, where's the best way for us to find you and find what Fit Chicks is all about?
I think it's really just if you go to our site, just at fitchicksacademy.com. Or if you go on Facebook, if you want to join our community, we have our, it's called Uniting and Educating Women in Fitness and Nutrition.
I love it.
And that's our private group. So you can join us there.
Awesome. Make sure you check out Amanda. And as always, thank you so much. It's so great. I always learn so much just speaking with you. And I look forward to us chatting more in 2021.
I look forward to it as well.